And welcome, everybody, to the 142nd episode of the Fact Is podcast. We're your hosts, Nate Moses.
And I'm Ryan Mays.
And Stu Mowbray.
And let's talk about some of the articles we're going to discuss tonight. So, we're going to talk a little bit about the new House Speaker. We're just going to go over a brief brief review about that. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Biden's $106 billion supplement funding request. We'll talk about a Marine Corps 3-star general who's advising Israeli military on Gaza ground operation. And then a little bit about some Ukrainian spies with deep ties to CIA wage shadow war against Russia. But before we get started with any of that, please make sure to do the following. You need to like, comment, share, and subscribe to all of our following social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, the Royal Rumble, and Twitch. So please make sure you all follow us on all of our social medias. It helps us tremendously when you all get our name out there. We're able to share. We're able to come together for open, honest discourse and have discussion, because that's what we like to do, because us here at the Fact Is podcast believe that we all have more in common than what we don't. So with that being said, gentlemen, we had to skip last week due to somebody who just, had to do some personal things.
Well, yeah, one of us, not to say any names, Nave, but just can't seem to stay here.
You know what I mean?
Takes more vacations than anybody I've ever met. That's management for you, peeps.
Stu, how are you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. It's been a good day.
You didn't ask me how I'm doing.
Because that was rude. Now, Ryan, how have you been? Good week?
Well, it's been a great week, and let me tell you why.
I like great.
Because earlier this week, I was blessed, right? And I found my new favorite song of all time.
And what's your new favorite song?
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit. And after that, it's all been downhill.
It was just that song that made everything much better.
If you haven't seen that, just search in some way, shape, or form, Taste the Biscuit. And I promise you will not be disappointed. There is nothing serious about that song
at all.
And it actually is pretty terrible, but it will make your day.
I love it. Oh, man.
Because everything we're getting ready to get into is pretty serious. So I had to bring something that's just a little lighthearted.
A little lighthearted. I love it. All right, cool. Well, let's jump straight into this. So we're just going to go very quickly over who is now the new Speaker of the House. So who is Mike Johnson, the new Republican U.S. House Speaker?
Is he related to Jimmy?
We about to find out.
Jimmy Johnson?
Doubt it. U.S. Representative Mike Johnson has been elected by his fellow Republicans to serve as a Speaker of the House of Representatives after 3 weeks of turmoil and 3 failed candidates. Here are 5 facts about the 4th-term conservative lawmaker who is now a top Republican in Congress. So the biography: Johnson is 51, was born out of Shreveport, Louisiana, Louisiana's 3rd largest city, the oldest of 4 siblings, and the son of a firefighter who was badly burned and disabled in the line of duty. Prior to Congress, Johnson was a lawyer who mainly worked on religious freedom issues, successfully defending Louisiana's same-sex marriage ban in 2004. I'm a Christian, a husband, a father, a lifelong conservative, constitutional law attorney, and a small business owner in that order. He told the Louisiana Baptist Message newspaper in 2016. He was elected to Louisiana State House in 2015 and ran for Congress successfully in 2016. So he's a social conservative.
What a come up.
Yeah.
Dude, in 2015, he was elected to the state senate?
I think that's what it said, yeah.
And now he's the Speaker of the House?
No, sorry, was elected to Louisiana State House.
So the state house, and now he's the Speaker of the House, literally the 3rd most powerful seat in the country. He did it in a short 8 years.
He got to Congress in 2016.
Wow. What a come up.
Yeah, so socially, he's conservative. Who perhaps is best known as defense of former President Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the elections in 2020. As a former constitutional lawyer, he signed an amicus brief in a case that attempted to throw out Pennsylvania's election results and called for Trump to keep fighting. He opposes the same-sex marriage and introduced a bill in 2022 that would have banned schools from promoting or discussing gender identity. He opposes the Ukraine aid, so some leadership experience he has. He served as a chair of the Conservative Republican Study Committee and was elected vice chair of the conference, but otherwise has no leadership experience. And then relationship with Trump. Johnson is an avowed Trump supporter, as evidenced by his support of Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election. So there's just a little bit about him. That was like the brief overhaul that I got from Reuters. Of course, there will be more to know. And if you would like to know more about him, please feel free to look it up yourself. But
so we went from
just wanted to run over that.
We went from like a moderate conservative, right? Somebody who's by all accounts pretty much right down the middle. Let's be real with oh man, I forgot his name now. McCarthy.
Yeah.
McCarthy. And then we had Jim Jordan, who
Failed.
Yeah. And Jim was a little more on the right side, right?
Right.
And then we were like, let's just jump off the deep end. Let's go with the new guy.
Yeah, right.
Who actually signed the petition to try to overthrow Pennsylvania's electoral college. Oh, this is great. Like, you can't script this stuff any better.
No.
I swear to God.
It's interesting, and our politics continues to get more interesting as time goes on. So
we don't like McCarthy, but we'll take the avid Trump supporter. Let's roll.
we'll see what happens of it. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more next week, and we'll try to get a little bit more of a biography on him. But
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm cracking up.
That's it for that one.
Woo.
So,
all right, I'm bringing it together.
There it is.
All right. I'm sorry. I thought Taste the Biscuit was going to be the most lighthearted thing, but apparently not.
Do you want to touch up on anything? Do you know anything about Mike Johnson really, or
no?
No. Okay, fair enough.
No, I don't know
Stu?
anything.
No, nothing there. So something that we obviously are not as educated on. If anybody would like to throw their 2 cents in there, of course, we love to hear from you all. So please make sure that you share it with us, and we'd love to hear. But
I
other
hope
than
that
that,
he does a good job.
I hope he does
so
as well.
too.
Yeah, that's about the best we can ask for, right? So, we just want somebody in there who's actually going to do some good for the country, and that's what we're fighting for
That'd be
here.
really nice.
And that's what we're fighting for here, right? We just want to bring a lot of transparency, visibility, and accountability to those in power, and hopefully be able to get there one day. And that's exactly what the point of this is, to bring it up and have people discuss and talk about it. So, interesting. Anyways, moving forward. Let's talk about probably one of the most frustrating, again, topics that we've discussed coming into this year, and it's just the way that our government decides to spend our money. So let's have a discussion about this. What's in Biden's $106 billion supplemental funding request? So U.S. President Joe Biden wants Congress to provide $106 billion in supplemental funding, with the bulk of the money going to bolster Ukraine's defenses and the remainder split among Israel, Indo-Pacific, and border enforcement. Biden is betting that including money for Israel and immigration will help convince House Republicans wary of sending additional money to Ukraine to support the measure. To Ukraine, he wants to give another $61.4 billion. The request includes $30 billion from the Department of Defense to help supply Ukraine with weapons and replenish U.S. stocks. There's also $14.4 billion to support military intelligence in Ukraine, $81 million to help assist displaced Ukrainians arriving in the U.S. Israel, $14.3 billion. The request includes $10.6 billion for air and missile defense support, and $3.7 billion for the State Department and assistance embassy support and foreign military financing. Border protection at $13.6. The request includes to hire 1,300 Border Patrol agents, 1,600 new asylum officers, and 375 new judge teams. It also calls for $1.2 billion to counter smuggling of deadly drug fentanyl. Now, well, we'll go over that in a minute. And then humanitarian assistance, $10 billion. So the request includes $9.15 billion for humanitarian needs across Israel, Ukraine, Gaza, and other global needs. The remainder goes to border migration and refugee assistance. So I'm a little confused. He says border protection and hiring all these border patrol agents. Is this the U.S.-Mexico border? Because that's where I'm a little lost on.
No, Ukraine's border.
Yeah, because it says with the bulk of the money going to bolster Ukraine's defenses and the remainder split among Israel, Indo-Pacific, and border enforcement.
The border protection is for the American-Mexico border.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, right? It doesn't say specifically, but it's talking about the counter smuggling of the deadly drug fentanyl. So I'd imagine it's coming in from the Mexico border, which is also created in China, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So and
you know what's really funny about that?
Go ahead.
Do you think, are you going to the same place I'm going?
Well, no, I already have a comment on TikTok. What about the water in Flint? Like, again, what about everything here in the U.S. that we're still not touching yet?
Oh, I was going towards the cost of Trump's wall, which was $18.4 billion. they're throwing 13 right at
But,
it.
I mean,
like,
yeah, just like a little bit less than what, you know. And it. So, and then, okay, so we have China 100% dumps fentanyl on us for the opium war. Water is poison in Flint. There's a lot of comments on TikTok, and I'd imagine across all of our socials right now, anybody who's watching us,
$10 billion would go a long way in fixing Jackson, fixing Flint.
We already talked about this, dude. Less than a quarter of what we've given to Ukraine overall, and we could have already fixed all the U.S.'s issues.
Also the other thing that I saw the other day on TikTok, surprisingly enough, actually TikTok's a great place for information.
It can be
if you've trained your algorithms.
Yes.
But I saw a thing on TikTok. It was like how much money we've actually put into infrastructure, and it's like the amount of. It was just talking about bridges that need to be fixed, right? It was like 65,000, 55,000, 72,000, 76,000 is the most latest number, I think is what it said. But we've also thrown like hundreds of billions of dollars at infrastructure. Why is it that we still drive around on potholed roads? Why is it that these bridges still haven't been fixed?
And why is it that our tax money keeps disappearing? Not only that, but our taxes continue to go up. We continue to pay more and more every year.
Oh,
dude.
That's because we need to fuel the
military industrial complex.
We have to be the world police.
I don't even know how to express this, because when will the American people say we've had enough? Is it literally going to take like leaders within each state, and maybe not even political leaders, just leaders within communities, to step up and say, hey, we need to put an organization together and go have these conversations with our representatives? What's it going to take?
As long as the normal everyday American is kept in the dark about what's going on, which is happening pretty regularly, and then you have the mainstream media news machine that's completely taking people's eyes off of what's going on. As long as that's still happening, it'll never stop. It'll never stop. It doesn't matter how many committees you put together to go talk to the representatives. It's either going to be a revolt, or we're just going to spend ourselves into oblivion and end up like Venezuela.
And we're already doing that, as we've pointed out,
Yep.
And so, Stu, you, sir, thoughts?
Yeah, so initially I thought that border money was Ukraine's border. So I'll give him credit. I'm glad that some funding is going to our border.
Fair enough.
Hopefully that money is allocated in the right ways and it's going where it says it's going. So I'll give the Biden administration credit for that. But the rest of the money that has been sending to Israel and Ukraine and all these other countries, I like to see all that money come back here and be invested in, like Ryan alluded to, our infrastructure, things like education, things that, water quality, things that we need here, and fix the issues we've got here domestically.
Even homelessness has continued to increase drastically here in the U.S.
The list of issues is like infinite,
ongoing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop. And I just don't necessarily see. I don't necessarily see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what's getting frustrating. And I don't see, like, I try to look up to some of our leaders that we have now, like Elon Musk and individuals out there who have a lot of money, Jeff Bezos, and try to look at those leaders and think, okay, ethically, I understand that they have a business side, but is there any time in a period of our lifetime will somebody come out as a true leader and try to help us get back onto the right path? Because it's not happening. And people are frustrated about this. You go out and you have a regular conversation with any normal American right here, immigrant, ethnicity, color, religion, doesn't matter. We all almost agree on the same things. And it's wild because I continue to have these conversations from state to state, from workplace to workplace. It doesn't matter. Like and all these different hunters, athletes, business owners. It doesn't matter. We all have a very common goal, and it just seems like we can't get ourselves on the right page.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it's just like I don't. It's more and more frustrating.
One thing I will say though, I am not as upset about the money that we're sending to Israel as I am about the money that we're sending to Ukraine.
Interesting.
We're
thoughts.
sending money to Ukraine. They are not an ally. They're not part of NATO.
Right.
They're not anything to us.
Whereas Israel
other
is
than a way for us to have a proxy war with Russia, not be directly involved, and hurt Russia and hurt Russia's military, which is an accomplishment in and of itself. Israel, on the other hand, is absolutely an ally. Like, we have an alliance with Israel. They were attacked, and they have decided to try to go and eradicate the problem that was attacking them. So I don't have as much of a problem with sending them some money and some aid,
right,
because they are an actual ally.
Interesting. Stu, thoughts on that?
I am tired of funding these other countries, whether it's Israel, Ukraine. I don't care if they're an ally. We fund Israel's entire military. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. If we were gonna send money to somebody, I would rather it go to an ally. What I'm getting at, rather than some corrupt government where we have no idea where the money's going. At least, I don't know exactly what, but
no, I mean, I have a feeling like I understand what you're saying there, because again, somebody who's been established as an ally and wanting to support them instead of somebody who we don't know what the direction of their country is going to go after this war, right? They could just be like, okay, thanks for the help, and then you know what? Let's have our talks with Russia, and then they join. Who knows?
I don't think that's going to happen with Ukraine, but
doubt it. But
it's a possibility.
I mean, you never know, right? Like that's the crazy thing.
To
about
me, it's just frustrating when you see all this money, taken from the taxpayer, obviously,
right?
And it's not reinvested back into all the issues.
The taxpayer.
Yeah, correct. All the issues we talk about week after week, just the Maui fires in Hawaii, Flint, Michigan, like that person on TikTok said, Jackson, Mississippi,
yeah,
East Palestine, all those areas that have needed aid, and countless more. It's just frustrating seeing all that aid going to foreign countries, billions and billions of dollars going to foreign countries, and what to me seems like funding war, even in Israel currently right now.
Right.
So
that to me, it's just frustrating.
From a financial standpoint, I was thinking about this the other day. Do you think that the reason we're sending so much of this money overseas is to try to get it out of our economy to try to combat inflation?
Good question.
Because I mean, you think about it, when it's in rotation here in the States, right?
Right.
That hurts everything else. It just does. I mean, that's how inflation. But if they can make it disappear off the books, right, by sending it to these foreign wars or wherever it goes and disappears, is that a way that they could potentially be looking at it as it's like a dual-edged sword? They get to fund wars, right? But they also get to get rid of some of the currency that's in circulation. Because I mean, it's got to be, when you're talking about the grand scheme of things in terms of the economy, you have to look at it in more than one lens,
right? Which
it kind of makes sense. No one
kind of. I don't know. That I still come back to the argument, though, that regardless of how the money's circulating,
absolutely, it should be reinvested into America.
That's kind of my thought, right? Regardless of how it's being spent, you can still reinvest in yourself.
But here's the thing: if it's reinvested into America, that strengthens the economy, which is what we don't want right now in terms of the value of the dollar. Because if we do, then we're going to have a melt up, and we don't want that.
Right.
So instead of investing it into America,
What you're saying is intentionally the United States is not investing the money back
yes,
to hurt its own economy.
yes, because I mean that's all Jerome Powell and the Fed is trying to do right now is to slow down the economy. The economy was on a breakneck pace following the printing of $8.2 trillion. So if you look at it, that was unsustainable, and the value of the dollar would eventually just crash, right? Because it would just be so over hyperinflated that it wouldn't be worth anything. So, in an effort, this is me completely putting on my tin hat, but it does make some sense when you think about like, hey, let's figure out a couple of different ways to try to slow this economy down a little bit.
Right.
And then the other thing is if we can get into a war, man, our economy absolutely booms in a war.
Well, we are technically in two right now. We're funding two of them at least. Well,
and we haven't even really gotten into them yet.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like anytime that there's been a war in the past, there's like our economy just goes kaboom.
Well, and the craziest part is I don't think people understand either that we still, like, with the Palestine and Israel issue that's happening right now, like we've funded both sides of that war.
Isn't it great?
Yeah, I mean it's absolutely wild, and then they just are now fighting each other. And what other people also don't realize
Same thing
is
happened in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
we funded both sides of that war.
Yep, and we even created ISIS.
Yeah,
like we literally created them with the amount
of Al-Qaeda
or Al Qaeda too. I think it was both.
ISIS was born out of Al Qaeda, but Al Qaeda we created to fight the Russians in Afghanistan.
Right.
We funded Bin Laden, and then lo and behold.
They all got money from us somehow.
Yep.
And then we just left all of our equipment in Afghanistan 2-3 years
ago. The Taliban.
2 or 3 years ago.
Dude, I try to forget. I try to forget that
I know. The worst.
It was the worst.
The worst thing. We created Taliban, which splintered into Al Qaeda. Okay.
I got that back.
We did train Taliban and Osama to fight Russia, though. Yes. Okay. So, because I got a lot of people commenting on TikTok. I mean, it's one after the other. Common Sense in Crazy Times is this guy's or individual's name, and I really like it. The equipment was given to Afghan army. We didn't leave much USA Army at all. But the Afghan army fell. They fell to out.
Like
they fell to
fast.
They fell like that because that
before
now
we could even get off the ground.
Who is it that has control?
The Taliban.
Taliban. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we left it for their
as
army,
soon
but
as
guess
we
what?
left,
Boom.
literally the next day, there's a video of some dude hanging from one of our helicopters, and they're flying it over.
Actually, that was seen to be false.
Oh, really?
Yes. So,
okay.
Because what's his name?
My bad.
Eye Patch, Texas. Help me out.
Dan Crenshaw.
No.
Dan Crenshaw posted this, and he got blasted for it because that was a false narrative.
Okay.
It was really a guy hanging from it. There was a guy hanging from it, but it was like to change something or literally do something there. It wasn't like they killed him and executed him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that was a huge misunderstanding. I saw that one. Yeah,
I definitely thought that dude was hanging. I didn't do my research on that. Sorry about that.
Sorry, this guy, he said it was a false video too. No, you're good. I mean, there's so much information nowadays. It's hard. Like,
put your eye patch on, Ryan.
But it's good to have these discussions, right? So, awesome. And I love the kind of conversations that we're having right here on TikTok and every other site as well.
So it almost seems like us funding all of these countries in the Middle East and Europe, it almost seems to escalate war.
Yes.
And escalate conflict.
When the United States is involved in other countries, it seems to escalate conflicts between people on more of a like civil basis.
You know what we are? We're that kid that's on the playground, right? He sees two other kids like getting ready to fight. And we go over and we say, guys,
beat each other up.
If you're gonna do it, spit on him first.
We're the instigators.
If he spits on you, then you throw like dirt at him.
Yep, we're the instigators.
And, I mean, I'm not telling you to punch each other.
But go ahead and punch each other.
I mean, I would never ever call for you to like violently hurt each other.
Ever.
But I mean, if it comes down to it,
yeah,
I got your back.
Yeah. So interesting thoughts
like,
there.
Which one's back do you have? That's for you all to find out.
So the Biden supplement, $106 billion. It hasn't gone through yet, I don't think. officially. I think they got to vote on it. They got to do all that. But just something to keep on your radar. Another
you think-
106 billion going out.
Do you think Trump thumper Mike Johnson lets that go through?
Trump thumper?
Trump thumper.
I like that.
Ooh, I'm gonna have fun with this guy.
It will definitely get the votes.
You think it'll get the votes?
Oh, yeah.
Because of the border
Do
patrol.
you think it'll be unanimous?
No, not unanimous.
Not unanimous, but I think you're going to get a lot more Republican support
I mean,
because of the border patrol.
You'll have Matt Gaetz that won't vote for it, but other
And,
than that,
I think because you're also providing that money to Israel, and right now the narrative is to back Israel. It's not to back Palestinians. I think that they're going to get the vote for it.
how fast things happen, right?
Oh.
Like it was, back Ukraine. Ukraine, we need to support them.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast
And
the
now it's
narrative
like,
changes.
Israel,
Yeah.
back Israel.
Yep.
What are we doing?
One thing to another, and it just don't stop. So, yeah, love it.
There, what's the show?
To see.
I mean, that's what it feels like. We're just playing the drums.
Well, we're all kind of at the same conclusion with this, so that was good conversation there. Love it, gentlemen. Let's move to the next topic. Appreciate everybody with their conversations here in TikTok. Just want to take a quick second and make sure to remind everybody to please like, comment, share, subscribe to all of our following social medias:
All of it.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, and Twitch.
Royal Rumble.
The Royal. So please make sure you all are following us on all those social medias. It really helps
here,
us.
brother.
Listen, brother.
If you don't subscribe to our channels,
It's going to be bad.
we're gonna
news.
grab you and we're gonna break that back.
Well, let's talk about the 3-star general that's helping advise the Israeli military here with the Gaza incident, the Gaza situation. So, the Biden administration recently sent a Marine 3-star general and several other U.S. military officers to Israel to help advise Israeli military's leadership in its operation in Gaza, according to the 2 U.S. officials. And 2 Israeli officials briefed on the issue. Sorry, I did a quick vote here on TikTok, and it looks like out of all the votes, I asked, are you interested in the funding of this package, or would you rather the money come back into the USA? 75% said USA. So
Nice.
just an interesting thought there. I did a little poll,
We are
10-minute
not
poll
alone in our
in our thoughts.
desire
Yeah.
to have our tax money help our people.
So just thought I'd throw that out
Based.
there.
Watch out for the flag.
So why? I like it. So why does it matter? So the move reflects the Biden administration's deep involvement in the war in Gaza and how much visibility it has in Israel's military planning. So the Marine Corps officers include Lieutenant General James Glynn. According to the senior Israeli official, Glenn previously headed the Marines Special Operations, was involved in the operations against ISIS in Iraq. Glenn and the other U.S. military officers are not directing operations, but they do provide military advice to the IDF about its plans to Gaza. This has been primarily focused on Israel's expected ground invasion. The American officers have shared lessons the U.S. has learned from fighting ISIS in Mosul. Glenn is not expected to stay in Israel to follow the IDF ground invasion, sources with direct knowledge of the issue said. So what are they saying? What they are saying, sorry. We have asked several officers with relevant experiences simply to help Israeli officials think through the difficult questions ahead and explore their options. The IDF will, as always, make its own decisions, a Pentagon spokesperson told Axios. White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby told reporters at a briefing on Monday that there are a few U.S. military officials with relevant experience to the operation that Israelis are conducting that are over there to share their perspective and to ask hard questions. Same hard questions we have been asking our Israeli counterparts since the beginning. The bigger picture. Secretary of State Tony Blinken told CBS on Sunday that the Biden administration is talking to Israeli officials about their military plans for Gaza and how best to achieve their desired results. We give them our best advice. It is important, as we had said, not only what they do, but how they do it, particularly when it comes to making sure the civilians are as protected as possible, can be in this crossfire of Hamas, making Blinken said. Since the beginning of the war, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and Eric Kurilla, head of the U.S. Central Command, have each visited Israel and met Defense Minister Yoav Gallant and IDF leadership. Austin continues to speak to Gallant by phone. So state of play. Israel has been preparing for a ground offensive in Gaza since October 7th Hamas terrorist attack, saying its goal is to destroy the group, which is considered a terrorist organization by Israel, the U.S., and other countries. It's unclear when Israel will launch the operation, but Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has previously acknowledged
Proud of
the
you.
war will likely be long and difficult. Yeah, I mean, I remember that one from last week. So real quick, I do just want to say, as much crap as we give, like Biden, being that he's our leader, for the pullout in Afghanistan, we also have to remember that he had military guided officials, right? And these individuals also were the ones who just were like, yeah, let's just go ahead and get out of there. Right. So, like, I know we like to diss Biden with a lot of things, but I also think about these leaders, these military leaders that also made that conscious decision. You know what I mean? Because he has an entire network of some of the supposed to be smartest individuals in our entire country working for him.
So I don't diss Biden because of the moves he's made, because I understand that Biden is not the one who's making those moves.
Right.
So that's what I diss Biden for, because he is a bought and paid for candidate.
Right.
He's a bought and paid for president. And so, in my opinion, he's just a speakerhead and an easy target.
Right. He's just up there.
It's literally like, it's become a joke at this point, because the guy's not even coherent enough to put together a paragraph, much less an exit strategy from Afghanistan. But the people he put around him, or the people, I guess, that were put around him, said that this was a good idea.
Right.
And so it is still in turn his fault.
Right. And it's like, whether it's like Trump or Biden or whichever administration, we have to understand that they have a team of people, right? And those individuals are all to blame, in my opinion, because I would love to be at those tables where they're like, you know what? Yeah, let's just pull out, leave it to the Afghan military, leave it to the leaders in Afghanistan, and let them have control of our weapons and let them take control of it. I would like to just look at those people and be like, what are you thinking?
Well, here's the thing in football, right? The offensive line coach doesn't get blamed for his line not holding their end of the bargain.
It's a coordinator.
It's not even the coordinator. It goes to the head coach.
Head coach, right.
So that's why Biden catches all the flack for all these people failing underneath of him, is because he's the head coach.
Right.
You don't blame the kicker for missing the 55-yarder. You blame the coach for not getting him a closer look.
Right.
Or playing it right down earlier in the game.
Or, yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing. That's why I like when these players or whoever would come out and be like, look, it's not just that individual's fault. It's all of our faults. There were things that led up to there that we could have prevented or we could have changed and done differently to have made a different outcome overall. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, just interesting.
And that's the thing about being a part of a team. Luckily, I've been able to be a part of teams pretty much my entire life. And so I completely understand that when you have one side of the cog that's not turning the right way, then the rest of the device can't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
No, I love it though. This is a great discussion, and I just want to say the common sense.
It sounds
and
like
Crazy Times and Copperhead are over here.
TikTok's on fire.
I mean,
they're
over going, brother. They're not stopping. I mean, we've had a total of like over
1,000 comments,
over 100. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, anyways, so love the discussion. Please keep it up.
Close to the material.
He's not here tonight, not right now, unfortunately. But that's okay. I know he'll come back around.
The source.
That's what I'm thinking.
The source is over here.
But yeah, so real quick, just want to hear thoughts on us sending military aid to Israel, simply in the form of information, intelligence, strategy, things like that. I want to hear your all's takes. Go
ahead, Stu.
Sending foreign aid to Israel. Is that what you're asking? My thoughts on that?
No. We're talking about,
sending our intelligence.
Our intelligence
our
over there.
General.
Our 3-star general. Yeah.
Got you.
Sorry.
In their political world, it makes sense because we fund Israel. We fund their entire military, send them billions of dollars a year.
Following the narrative.
Right.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. I understand why they're doing it. don't support it, but you have the president or prime minister, whatever they call him in Israel. He says it himself. This war is going to be long and difficult.
Right.
So we got our answer right there that this thing will escalate and we'll go to war with this ground invasion. And I'll compare it to Ukraine. It seems like we're behind the strategies of the Ukraine army and what they do. So I wonder if we're going to do the same with the IDF in Israel. And another thing that I've been seeing a lot of people talk about are these tunnels in Gaza. There's these tunnels that, so essentially, if there's a ground invasion and all these, Palestinians or Hamas, whoever, they're going to be fighting out of these tunnels, which is a very different landscape of warfare than just your, typical,
Street warfare.
Yeah.
your regular warfare. So that's something to take into account. That's my thoughts right now.
Interesting. Ryan?
I've got two takes. So I've got my serious take, and then I've got what originally hit my head.
A Ryan take.
Yeah, there you go. We'll go with that. I like that.
Because I love Ryan
Ryan's
takes.
thoughts.
Yeah, because it
Ryan's
mostly
takes.
involves aliens.
I
threw it in
brought
there.
it up.
I threw it in
Damn
there.
it. Never do that again. No. So I've got two, like I said, two takes. One, again, if a 3-star general is over there and is telling them what to do or giving them insight, I don't necessarily have as much of a problem with that because they are an ally. So I don't have much of an issue with that. They're an ally. They are in alliance with.
Right.
I would expect us to do the same for Great Britain or
Germany or
one of those other countries that we're allies with. Australia. Hopefully we fight with those. Yes, I don't. They are an ally, right?
Who?
The Aussies?
Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought so.
But yeah, I'll look that up. You can keep going.
They're just such a wonderful group of people.
A country with a whole bunch of no's, though.
But anyway, so that's my, I guess, my serious take. My Ryan take on this was when the general landed, do you think he walked into the tent like, all right, boys, this is what we're getting ready to do. You have to listen to me because we're paying for your stuff. This is how we're going to do it. Everybody's like, who's this guy? And he's like, I'm the 3-star general that was just sent here to save your butts.
I like that take. So Common Sense in Crazy Times on TikTok is saying that they don't have as much of an issue with it simply because Israel is going to do what they want. We're just there to send intelligence, guidance, whatever. But ultimately, it's not like we're saying what they're doing. But any general is a politician. But that's the other thing. Do we really know? Because we essentially have bought in their country.
What if Israel's just kind of like pulls a Kanye and is like, hey, I'm gonna let you finish in a minute, but we're gonna go bomb real quick. and like what? I mean, what happened? What do we do? What do we do in that instance?
Do we do? And then
if they go and commit crimes against humanity, right? Because they're just out to get these people,
right?
Then what do we do?
That's a great question. That's a great question because another thing I'm looking at here, he's also saying, or the individual is saying, any general is a politician first, sadly, because they're spending time lobbying with Congress versus focusing on a specific war or whatever, which technically we're not really in a war. We are just supplementing all of the money for these two wars that are going on right now. So
I love it.
Interesting. It's all interesting takes. By the way, Australia is not a member of NATO. Its ties to the organization have grown as a result of ADF deployments to Afghanistan under the NATO-led International Security Assistance Force.
We're still an ally with them, though. They're not just...
Yeah, I'd imagine we're an ally.
Look that up, please.
Australia.
I'm going to be really upset if we're not.
Have you guys looked into any of the attacks against the U.S. soldiers?
By the way,
U.S. soldiers getting attacked in Iraq and was it Lebanon?
I did see Syria. That a couple of bases have been attacked.
Yeah, and I've seen where Lebanon is now exchanging fire with Israel to back Palestine.
Yeah, Hezbollah. What that group's called.
Yeah, Hezbollah.
Out of Lebanon.
Pacific Treaty with Japan, South Korea, and Philippines, and I guess Australia is a part of that treaty as well. So yes, they are a vital partner of ours.
But it does look like with Israel,
Right.
with Israel going into this ground invasion, I mean, we will be funding 2 wars.
Right. Ukraine and Israel.
So with the Israel war,
Oh, sorry, real quick. Don't mean to cut you off, but don't forget the third war that's about to happen with Taiwan and China. Anyways, yeah, because that's coming up.
That's the worst.
That's coming up.
That's probably
You just wait.
the scariest one.
It is the scariest, and it's also going to be the
Because
next
what
one.
happens to the others? Do we drop the others?
No.
Focus
We're
all
just
of our
gonna
resources?
We're just going to continue to
Earn
pump money into the military-industrial complex, and that's
But
what's
see,
going to happen.
This is why I don't like funding these countries, because the IDF and Israel, if we fund their military and they just go start wars, we just have to fund them still.
Well, that's what we're instructing them to do.
Yeah. We want them to fight more so we can continue to pump money into them. We want to do that.
Well, it's just like Turtlehead said.
So that's why I say, like, this whole thing, I just don't support this money going to these foreign countries, because I would much rather see these $1 billion get reinvested into our own country and help out our own people, instead of going to war and killing a bunch of people.
Right.
It might be a naive view, but that's how I feel.
I mean, I'm more on the peaceful side myself. I believe we shouldn't have war, and we should be, the one human race that comes together to make interesting discoveries. But that's just my thoughts.
Well, see, this is what I was waiting for, Nave, because that's not going to happen
Ever.
until the aliens come down.
There's the
And
aliens.
unify us as a human race, because then we have something that's an existential threat.
So, common sense in crazy times. I love these comments because the person started going off. Says China doesn't dare. If they do it, it'll be ugly for China. They'll starve and run out in months. China is essentially a giant coast guard. They have no power projection across the world. We can intercept Russian and Chinese hypersonics. The only good forces China has is its rocket troops. I mean, this person's just popping off about China. So they believe that China will not. I disagree personally. I think there is going to be a conflict with Taiwan. I really do foresee that coming.
No, here's the thing, though. We've already built the back doors for the chip manufacturing people to get out of Taiwan, which is the only reason China wants Taiwan.
Right.
So when China goes, we get all those people out. We blow up all the factories for the chip stuff, blow all their technology to smithereens.
Yep.
And then they don't have anything. So that's why I don't think they go after Taiwan, because
yeah, that's a good point
it's a
too.
lose-lose situation.
And then Brittany also agrees with you about the aliens. The aliens is what's going to bring us to unify. So
Absolutely, Brittany.
Brittany agrees with you on that.
I'm glad that you're the better half of that equation.
Aliens.
But
But
would you
I've
guys
probably been-
support, like, if Joe Biden got up there, would you guys support a call for a ceasefire?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love if we could stop war overall in general. The senseless killing of human beings is just, it shouldn't be happening anyways. So I'm completely against war. I always believe that the only way to find solutions is to actually sit down, do exactly what we're doing, having open, honest discussions and trying to understand sides and coming from a place of understanding and putting ourselves in other people's empathetic viewpoints. But life isn't like that.
I would support it, but do I ever think, one, it would happen, or two, it would be successful? No.
Yeah.
People have been
exactly.
fighting since we found out we were people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just, and if you look at nature in general,
Violence.
it's violent. And I just don't think that there's ever going to be a time when we aren't violent. It just doesn't look that way.
And
it doesn't look to be a part of the Earth's ecosystem.
And as funny as it is, like, to make that joke, when aliens come down, we unite. I truly think it'll take some existential threat for us to
absolutely.
actually come together. Like,
And then
that's
as soon as
honesty.
it's over, we'll go back to fighting.
Yeah, for more
If
control.
we make it through.
For more control,
I
and
know-
that's if we make it through
I
in the
know
first
war and
place.
violence are always going to exist, but I just wish my tax money wasn't going to it,
Right.
wasn't supporting it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I wish my tax money wasn't
That's my
going
whole
towards it
take.
either. But I mean, well, and then if you want something like that, then you can go to countries like Switzerland. You can go to places that stay out of war and that don't put their tax money into it. They put their tax money back into their country, where their health care is incredible. You have incredible working conditions. Your cost of living is down, and there's so much to those countries. Now, again, it's all give and take. It's all relative to what you want to live for and where you want to live, and
that's just it. I mean, you make a really good point, and I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
please. You make a great point.
Just don't cut him off in traffic, because he does get road rage.
I do not.
I've seen it.
No
I've seen
way.
it. I've seen him in his little pony driving around. Why you little?
You little.
Anyway, you make a great point though. If you want more security, or maybe not even security, wrong word for it. If you want more social programs, if you want more socialism, there are definitely places that you can go that will, enable those things.
Right.
If you want your tax dollars to go back towards, other things for people and social programs and stuff like that, then you can go to places like that. If you want to be in a warmongering country, then stay here, because that's what we apparently are doing, is warmongering. The thing is it hasn't really in America since World War II.
Since we've established,
we found out that war is very, very profitable.
And it's also sad that you have, the brave men and women that sign up for our military, and then they're just pawns to these politicians that fund these wars and get us into these wars, like 20-year wars with Iraq and Afghanistan, and all the lives that have been lost. So, and that's what I think about too. It's unfair. There's people that signed up to defend this country, but
I absolutely
they end up just fighting politicians' wars.
Yeah, because it used to be a thing of pride to be able to go in and serve your country and actually defend the world against evil.
Well, it used to be glorious.
Yeah, and you were defending this world against actual evil, like Hitler and like individuals who were trying to.
I'm going back even further than that.
Even further.
You think like
Genghis
Sparta,
Khan and.
I think like Sparta, it was glorious.
Yeah,
that you died on the
you were a warrior,
that's
and you died. And when you died, you had a great death. That's a great death out on the battlefield.
Yeah. And war has become something now that, we're sitting here and we're being very, very grim about this, but less human life is being taken now than at any other point in history.
That is the interesting point as well, isn't it?
We're all like, oh my God, war is so bad. It's so bad. But yet there's less fighting and less human death now than there has ever been before.
Ever.
Can I run something by you guys?
Sure.
I think 2 weeks ago, we went over the whole Israel and Palestine history. There's a long history, a long conflict of violence, violence from both sides. But do you think in this conflict, this instance right here with Hamas attacking Israel, which was horrific and terrible, do you think that Israel's response should be basically the path that they're going, just endless airstrikes? We see a lot of innocent Palestinian people being killed. Could be a ground invasion coming soon. It seems like there is a ground invasion coming soon. And, just basically beating the war drum and, instant reaction and violence. Or should they sort of take a step back and be like, yes, we were attacked. We're going to take precautions and protect our borders right now and protect what we have. And we're going to do more intelligence work to track down the exact people who attacked us and, take them out, versus, like I said, a lot of civilians and innocent people being killed from these airstrikes from just instant retaliation.
So strategically speaking only, right? I'm talking about if this was a game of chess, right? I'm not talking about people involved. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm talking about strictly strategic.
Yeah, logic.
if I'm Israel, I have to show force.
Yep.
Because I have enemies all around me that are looking for a weakness. And if these guys come in and they killed 900 or no, it wasn't 900, right? It was like what? How many people were killed in the Hamas attacks?
1,200.
12, was it 1,200 total?
1,200 over that weekend. Yeah, just that first beginning weekend.
Okay, so 1,200, right? And we don't do anything. Like, think about what America did in 9/11. About the same amount of people that were, well, no, I think it was like 2,000 in the World Trade Centers, right?
I believe so.
So a little less. And think about what America did. America launched a full-scale invasion of 2 countries. So
The wrong country.
one, the right country, and the other was to finish his dad's war. Yes. But if I'm Israel and I'm talking from a strictly like just wargaming it, I have to show force. I have to show that I am not to be messed with, because then if Hezbollah comes in, right, or if Iran sees weakness and they start coming in,
Right.
or if
That's
whatever,
happening.
Huh?
That's happening.
I know, but yes and no. I mean, if they step back and they say, well, this happened, we're going to figure out who it was, we're going to eliminate them as like a person or the group or whatever. I don't know.
I'm just saying you might play the long game instead of the instant retaliation that
I think you have to show an immediate reaction of force. And then maybe, because what did they do? They just bombed the strip, right? The Gaza Strip. And then
they've bombed Gaza a lot. They've killed a lot of people.
Yeah, so
I'm not completely up to date on it.
Here's what I will say. So right now, Iran has not joined in, according to a couple people. They're saying that they're too spread thin in Syria.
Yeah, but for some reason, the USA can't keep Iran out of their mouth. The politicians, they keep blaming Iran.
Politicians,
they're saying the funding for this Hamas attack came through Iran.
Yes. They're thinking that the funding came from Iran over to Hamas, and then also is now looking to fund, Hezbollah through Lebanon and all these other countries and organizations
so
to go
play
against
this
them.
thought experiment. We fund the Israel military, which we have known has attacked Gaza many times in this conflict. So is that our fault?
Indirectly. But okay, so yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes, it's kind of our fault because we did fund them, but if you Nafe, if you have somebody who's a neighbor, right, and that neighbor keeps coming over and killing your dog,
right,
and I give you a knife to defend yourself with, right, and then he comes over one night, tries to kill your dog, and you see him and you stab him, am I at fault for that?
Yeah, it depends on the law. So theoretically, here in like the state of Virginia, for example, if I don't let's say I let you borrow my firearm and you use that firearm to let's say kill somebody else or shoot somebody's dog or whatever, I'm held accountable for that.
Oh, really?
Yes. So it depends on the law, kind of depends on the situation. But like here in Virginia, I'll tell you, yes, I can't be held accountable for my firearm being within your possession, even if I was letting you borrow it or something. So
what about a knife?
Knives aren't registered, so I could probably just say it's not mine. But I see what you're saying. Yes. Yeah. I mean, if like without a doubt you could prove that knife was mine and it was in my possession and I gave to you to borrow, and then yes, I mean, I'm sure they could do that. But yeah, I mean, people are held accountable for things like that.
Okay, so what if, in this instance, what if the police had been warned over and over and over again that this guy was coming over and killing your animals,
right? And
they never did anything about it?
Well,
I mean, according to the law, yes, you're still going to get in trouble, but it's been notified. The guy comes onto your property, trespasses, in an aggressive manner and you defend yourself, your property, and your animals in self-defense using a knife that I gave you.
Right. And then
am I really in trouble for that? For helping you defend yourself when nobody else could?
Right. And then to Brittany's point, you don't know what the person's intentions are when they borrow your weapon or knife or whatever. So yeah, you don't know what their intentions are, but you're still held liable for your property and what you do. And so like also to your point, right? I mean, there's a lot of cases out there where unfortunately, and you look at a lot with like women, right? That they will put restraining orders, and the best thing they can do is get a piece of paper until something is actually done to them. And like that's just
insane.
True stories. Yeah, like there's a lot of situations where people will, you can get a restraining order, you can get all this stuff, but until something is actually done and too late, that's when people actually start getting held accountable. And that's kind of like what it's like all across this country
and also
right now.
to letting the cat out of the bag here, Israel controls Palestine and that Gaza Strip.
Israel does control.
They literally
it, yes.
control that area.
Yes. They have between them and Egypt, they have controlled it for like the last century.
And they have cut off aid.
I thought it was for the last 17 years.
A lot longer than that.
No. I know that like the strip has been, this whole mess has been there, but I thought Israel and Egypt have been in control of that strip now for like the last 17 years, like coming back and forth. Just wasn't there a conflict with Israel and Egypt? And then that's what, like, there was fighting in the 80s or something, wasn't there?
Yeah, but
like
it was
86?
According to that timeline, it was way before that. Even it went into like the 30s, pretty sure. So it went way back. Yeah, it went way back.
I'm not sure, but currently speaking, Israel controls what goes in and out of Gaza. They have cut off aid into that area, and they've cut off like their water supply. So, it's isn't just about Hamas. There's people that live in that area that are innocent people, and they're poor.
Right.
What's the poverty rate? In like 50% poverty rate in Gaza?
I think so.
Not 100%.
I think I did hear that.
So what responsibility does Israel have in this?
Well, kind of, I think I talked about this last time. It's like, yes, they are responsible in a sense because they've withheld these things from the Gaza Strip, but I would say that they're not as responsible simply because anytime there have been a want for peace talks, Israel's always come to the table.
Right.
And it seems like every time they give
Is that factual? Can you look that up, Nath?
I'm pretty sure because there was the Abraham Accords, there was the Accords back in the 90s with Clinton, there was the Accords in the 80s.
Oh God, how do I even word that?
I don't know.
Yeah, so here I will say this real quick.
Attempted peace talks between Israel and Gaza.
World Trade Center, by the way, was 3,000 people, 2,977. Yeah. Attempted peace talks, Palestine. So I will say this: even if Israel is the one that did come to the table, majority of the times, when you're in control, it's a lot easier to have that. Like, hey,
not saying
you know what I mean?
Not saying
Yeah.
you're not. But I'm saying, like, my argument is if I, like, if you're with me, right, and say we occupied the same property, and my side of the property has food and water, your side of the property doesn't, but every time I give you food and water,
right,
you lash out and you like either try to bite me or cut me, right? It seems like every time I try to do something good for you, that's what happens. How long before I just say, you know what, you're not getting any food and water again? Not from my side.
I guess the point is, though, I don't want you to provide me food and water. I can fend for myself. Give me my own sovereign place to do it. That's where Palestine's issue is. They don't have a sovereign country of their own. They want to be an independent, peaceful, or well, maybe not peaceful. I don't know exactly. I don't know exactly what. I just know they want to be their own independent nation. They want to have their own area. But again, I think a lot of this
isn't that what the last Accords struck up with Gaza?
They've never had a country like called Palestine. the Palestinian people that have lived within that country of Israel, within that Gaza Strip, that they want to have as their own country, but they've never actually been able to establish that. Yeah. As far as from what I've understood from this. Now, if I'm wrong, I ask people to please educate me on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I'm just going based on the information that I've read.
Right.
And the information that I've read seems to be mostly Israel leaning.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and I mean, a very basic way of putting it down, like I've had a couple people say, two people fighting over the same land that they both feel they own. But unfortunately, it's just come out on the side of history that Israel is, that because we have funded it and we have backed it and we have given them like a actual government, Israel is now that majority owning, essentially.
And Israel, I mean, Jewish people have been in that area for a lot longer than the Arab people. Like
Muslims?
1200, yeah, for like 1200 years before like Muslim was ever even established as a religion. That, I mean, I'm pretty like, look me up on that. I'm pretty sure that is the case though. It was I want to say it was like 1200 years
Right.
before Muslim was even established as a religion.
Okay.
So, if you're going based on just time of people being there, then it should belong to Israel, right?
Theoretically. Goodness gracious, there's so much. This would take a lot more than what I have time to look up, because I do want to move on to our last topic here, and we've been on this one for a while, but kind of wrapping it up. I mean, I'll just kind of stick with this, right? Like, it's a difficult situation overall. All I know is Israel is going to be getting a lot of support from the U.S. because that's what the narrative, that's what the rhetoric is aiming towards. That's where a lot of our money is. So we will continue to fund them. And I know that's how it's going to be. Whether it's right, wrong, that's indifferent. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. And what's going to happen is we're going to continue to back Israel. Yeah, because there's a lot of people here that don't even know the answer on TikTok either. I mean, they're talking like, how do you solve something that is this difficult? You know, there's so much involved. But we could have a whole episode on this, and I would love to do that one time,
Yeah, so
just to
in
talk
my
about
opinion, in that, which I agree with what they're saying, there's no easy fix. But just from history, I know escalating the conflict with violence and killing innocent civilians
it. Right.
is not the way.
No, exactly. And it's never the way to kill innocent civilians. So definitely something we will look at and continue to look at, and we will watch over.
The best thing people can do, and I know when that attack came out and we had that following podcast, we told people to go look into the history of Palestine and Gaza and Israel. Go do your own research and look into the history of those two feuding sides.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I feel like a lot of people, you know, they heard about the attack, the Hamas attack, that we do not support,
Right.
and they just think that it was out of the blue. But really, these two sides have been feuding for a long time, and like we just talked about, Israel controls Gaza. Like, they literally shut off all their aid and everything that country gets. I think some people even, like, this is what I heard. If an emergency happens in Gaza, I wouldn't say their like hospitals are top notch by any means. When like there's like a big emergency, they have to go into Israel.
Right.
And like Israel, like for Israel to allow that, it has to be like a very serious health issue. So yeah, I just think people need to go and look into, Israel's involvement in this with Gaza, controlling Gaza, what goes in and out of Gaza, and just the conflict between these two sides that has stemmed for, a long time.
Time that we can't even comprehend.
So it's hard. We like to, we do it with everything. These guys are the good guys. These guys are the bad guys.
And that's never that black.
Yeah. So
Never.
I don't think this issue is black and white. And I think, we need to keep doing our own research and have an objective view of this issue, not just a black and white view.
Yeah, I agree. All right, awesome. Well, let's move forward.
I do have something
please,
here.
go ahead.
This is from internationalaffairs.org. Both Jews and Arabs have claimed it as theirs alone. From a purely historical perspective, Israel predates Palestine by more than a millennium. But with the Jewish people then dispersed from their homeland, Palestine became home to a substantial Arab population, again, for more than a millennium.
Dang.
So it's kind of like, if you move out of your house, are you allowed to come back and say, hey, this is my house?
Right.
But if you ran out of your house,
That'd be a different story.
like if someone chased you out of your house and then you came back and you said, hey, no, this is actually my house. Like I lived here years ago, but someone chased me out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's whew. And this is why I don't get involved in
This is why it's difficult.
Middle Eastern affairs.
So the individual who's been running this commentary for us the whole time on TikTok is jumping off. So appreciate you. Thank you. Appreciate the follow. You're incredible. And I have another user that just asked if I'm on roids. I am not on roids. That was
Nate.
I'm not even kidding you. Look, are you on roids? I'm not on roids.
Bro, where?
Right
Are you
there.
on roids? Yes. Yes, he is.
Yeah, yes, I am apparently.
He is absolutely on the steroids. He is blood
Anyways.
doping. He is doing all of it.
This whole time, I thought you were updating your vaccines.
Yeah, no. It's definitely been the blood dope.
Y'all had no idea.
EPO, baby. EPO. And then
Man.
also, he takes a cocktail of hardcore anabolic steroid.
Absolutely.
Like the stuff that makes Arnold look tiny. Look at this man. Look
I'm not
at
on
him.
roids. He said I thought so.
Flex.
Flexing on
Give him
camera.
a flex, Nate.
This is weird. Anyways, that was just the funniest comment tonight. Real quick, want to jump in here and say, please make sure you all follow us on all of our socials. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Rumble, and Twitch. Need your all's help. Need to spread our influence and need to be getting out there towards the people. So please make sure you all do that. Last, let's go straight into our final topic for the night. Ukrainian spies with deep ties to CIA wage shadow war against Russia. So the cluttered car carrying a mother and her 12-year-old daughter seemed barely worth the attention of Russian security officials as it approached a border checkpoint. But the least conspicuous piece of luggage, a crate for a cat, was part of an elaborate lethal plot. Ukrainian operatives had installed a hidden compartment in the pet carrier, according to security officials with knowledge of the operation, and used it to conceal components of a bomb. 4 weeks later, the device detonated just outside of Moscow in an SUV, being driven by the daughter of Russian nationalists who had urged his country to kill Ukrainians, an explosion signaling that the heart of Russia would not be spared to the carnage of war. The operation was orchestrated by Ukraine's Domestic Security Service, the SBU, according to officials who provided details, including the use of pet crate that have not been previously disclosed. The August 2022 attack is part of the raging shadow war in which Ukraine's spy services have also twice bombed the bridge connecting Russia to occupied Crimea, piloted drones into the roof of the Kremlin, and blown holes in the hulls of Russia's naval vessels in the Black Sea. These operations have been cast as an extreme measures Ukraine has forced to adopt in response to Russia's invasion last year. In reality, they represent capabilities that Ukraine's spy agencies had developed over nearly a decade. Since Russia first seized Ukrainian territory in 2014, a period during which the services also forged deep new bonds with the CIA. The Russians have involved elite teams of Ukrainian operatives drawn from directorates that were formed, trained, and equipped in close partnership with the CIA. Wonder if that sounds anything like the Middle East all over again. According to the current and former Ukrainian and U.S. officials, since 2015, the CIA spent tens of millions of dollars to transform Ukraine's Soviet-formed services into potent allies against Moscow, officials said. The agency has provided Ukraine with advanced surveillance systems, trained recruits as in Ukraine as well as the United States. Sorry, I lost my place there. Built new headquarters for departments in Ukraine's military intelligence agency and shared intelligence on a scale that would be unimaginable before Russia illegally annexed Crimea and fomented a separatist war in eastern Ukraine. The CIA maintains a significant presence in Kyiv. The extent of the CIA's involvement with Ukraine's security services has not previously been disclosed. U.S. intelligence officials stressed that the agency had no involvement in targeted killing operations by Ukrainian agencies, and that its work has focused on bolstering together services' abilities to gather intelligence on a dangerous adversary. A senior intelligence official said that any potential operational concerns have been conveyed clearly to Ukrainian services. Many of Ukraine's clandestine operations have had clear military objectives and contributed to the country's defense. The car bombing that killed Daria Dugina, however, underscored Ukrainians' embrace of what officials in Kyiv refer to as liquidations. As a weapon of war, over the past 20 months, the SBU and its military counterpart, the GUR, have carried out dozens of assassinations against Russia officials in occupied territories, alleged Ukrainian collaborators of military officials behind the front lines, and prominent war supporters deep inside Russia. Those killed include a former Russian submarine commander jogging in a park in the southern Russian city of Krasnodar, and a militant blogger at a cafe in St. Petersburg. Ukraine's affinity for lethal operations has complicated its collaboration with the CIA, raising concerns with agency complicity and creating unease among some officials in Kyiv and Washington. So now there's some issues with Kyiv and Washington. That's interesting. It doesn't surprise me that the CIA is now again involved in somehow developing a way for war to be waged, because again, we literally trained Saddam Hussein here in the U.S. He was part of the CIA, and it just doesn't surprise me. I think it was Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein was the dictator of Iraq.
You might be right.
But I could be also really wrong.
CIA files prove America helped Saddam as he gassed Iran.
Really?
Ooh. The U.S. government may Go ahead and talk about this real quick. I'll get that fact. So
Let's do.
How do you all feel about this?
Not surprised. Obviously, our CIA is involved. I mean, probably every country in this world. Goodness. It makes me think of, like the Nord Stream pipeline. They say it was what do they say, like a third party or Ukrainian backed, I don't know.
That's what they say.
Yeah. So it's like, who has that technology to go underwater like that and detonate explosives? And yeah, I mean, this is complete speculation, but I think CIA does, or if not does, backs a lot of these things that happen, to where, like the Nord Stream pipeline, that'll happen, and then it's like, well, we don't know who did it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm not a fan of the CIA. Full disclosure.
Was it MK Ultra or was it the alien threw you off? Yeah.
MK Ultra.
What? You know about MK Ultra?
I've heard about it. I haven't really looked into it too much.
Guys, come on.
Wasn't that the Unabomber?
No.
No.
I mean, yeah, they speculate that the Unabomber came from that program. But
MK Ultra, Project MK Ultra, was an illegal human experimentation program designed to undertake. Sorry, hold on. Come back up. Where did I missed it? Oh my goodness. Okay. Was designed and undertaken by the CIA and intend to develop procedures and identify drugs that could be used during interrogations to weaken people and force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. Began in 1953 and was hauled in 1973. MK Ultra used numerous methods to manipulate its subjects to mental states and brain functions. such as covert administration of high doses of psychoactive drugs, especially LSD and other chemicals with the subject's consent, electroshocks, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, and other forms of torture. Wow.
That's our CIA, ladies and gents.
So there you go.
For those of you just now getting to the party, apparently.
And funny thing is, it looks like both bin Laden and Saddam Hussein were like operatives of the CIA.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
But it looks like Saddam Hussein had more links to the CIA.
Okay, cool.
Not shocking.
No, that tells me everything I need to know about the CIA's involvement in Ukraine. I don't like it. I don't want them to be there. I don't want that exist anymore.
Right. I mean, any kind of three-letter word isn't really the best. So CIA officers in Kyiv were made aware of some Ukraine's more ambitious plans for strikes, in some cases, including the bombing of the Kerch Bridge.
Nice.
Yeah. So beautiful.
Now, here's the other thing. CIA officers in Kyiv were made aware of. Were they? Were they made aware of it, or were they the ones that suggested it?
Great question.
No one will ever know. So, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't like the CIA. I don't like them. Please don't raid my house, but I don't like you guys.
Well, apparently the CIA has deep ties and a deep partnership with Ukraine.
Well, I mean, that's probably stemming back from the times of Obama and maybe even Bush being there. I mean,
2014.
It's wild, isn't it?
Did I just like snipe that right? I mean, I guess that's.
Pew!
Whoops.
I just pulled that right out of thin air. I was like, oh, I bet it's from Obama times. Huh? Well, do you think that also coincided with Biden's quid pro quo?
Oh my goodness. The quid pro quo, dude. I told him, they don't fire this guy. Like, what the hell?
Well, son of a bitch.
You better fire that son of a bitch if you want the money. Like, what?
Yeah. Now, CIA, cool. Guys, it seems like whatever the CIA touches, people die. So that sucks.
Yeah, and they continue to wage these shadow wars. I mean, then again, the U.S. government wages all sorts of shadow wars with the infinite funding that we put into all these other places. So,
but I will also say I don't know what else is going on in the shadows.
Right.
So maybe the CIA is absolutely necessary to keep from having some of this stuff spill over into the light. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I do
either.
know anytime I've ever seen anything with the CIA involved in it, people have died.
Yeah.
That sucks.
There's been a lot of death.
I haven't seen anything where the CIA hasn't had somebody die. There's that, and that's my take on that. So
that's kind of that's kind of the end of that on that one. I mean,
you guys got any other transformative? Now, I can't believe you guys hadn't heard of MK Ultra before.
I mean, I've
definitely do some research into that.
I've heard it. I just haven't really looked into it.
Like, good Lord,
wasn't that the one that was like they were trying to come up with time travel on a ship? No, that was a different one. I've heard a lot of them.
You're talking about the USS Philadelphia, I believe, with Albert Einstein. They put two electromagnets on the front and the back of the ship, fired them up simultaneously, and the ship disappeared and then reappeared back.
The Philadelphia experiment.
That's
what that is.
It was on the USS Philadelphia, right?
Allegedly, in the fall of 43, a U.S. Navy destroyer was made invisible and teleported from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to Norfolk, Virginia, in an incident known as the Philadelphia Experiment. Records in the Archives branch of the Naval History and Heritage Command have been repeatedly searched, but no document has been located which can confirm it. But it was actually on the USS Eldridge. Interesting.
Dude, I'm pretty sure that there was like reports of people being like fused with walls and everything else.
All sorts of weird stuff. Yeah. I mean, again, you never know how much of that is true.
Like how I just had that right off the top of my head, though.
Now,
like,
has MK Ultra? Yeah, like it's essentially like a mind control program. But like, have they actually? Has it been verified? Have they found documents of this stuff?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I didn't know that.
MK Ultra also is believed to be the birth of television.
Interesting. Because wait, when did it happen again?
54 through 73.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a interesting thought there as well.
Well, I mean, you think about mind control. That's what they were trying to achieve in MK Ultra.
But what's weird is, didn't we literally?
So mass mind control.
Didn't the Geneva Convention right after World War II establish like you're not allowed to use methods of torture like that anymore? Or what was? No, methods of torture.
Oh. I was like, you're not allowed to use methods. I didn't know they had meth back then. Like, whoa.
No, but yeah, I'm pretty sure like after the Geneva Convention, I thought it was like officially established like you can't continue to torture people to this extent. I thought we had kind of come up with that.
I'm sure.
After the Geneva Convention.
Isn't the Geneva Convention basically just a bunch of humanitarian accords?
Accords, yeah, because of what happened with the Holocaust and what happened there. So, I mean, interesting. We just did it anyways. So we were like, all right, guys, nobody can do it. We're going to do it behind closed doors. Don't worry about it.
Don't ask any questions.
Like, how does that make sense? Goodness gracious. Okay.
Like I said, I'm when did the TV come around? I'm pretty sure like no. I think that maybe the TV had already been invented because silent movie theaters and stuff had already been, but was the actual television invented? But either way, programming. That's where that came from.
Yes. So history of television, I guess it was like first fully functional in 27.
Yeah.
But interesting.
CIA has its hands in everything, don't they?
Well, think about
government does. Our government.
If the TV wasn't a method for mind control, then why would it be called programming?
Sorry, say it again.
If TV wasn't a method for mind control, then why would it be called programming?
Dun dun dun.
Take us out of here.
Stuart, did you want any last thoughts on that one?
Theory, the aisle here.
Any last thoughts on the whole Ukrainian spies?
Think that the CIA was in Israel and Gaza before the attack?
Absolutely.
Yes.
They're everywhere, though. I mean, the U.S. government is everywhere. Let's just be honest.
James Bond, right? See those James Bond flicks. James is everywhere and nowhere at the same time.
Exactly.
And he's always running into the CIA wherever he goes.
That's actually a really good point.
Think about it. Like, that's a spy movie. What do they say? Hollywood is the method for them to tell us what's actually going on. They tell it to our face in the form of entertainment.
I wonder how many corrupt countries our CIA is directly working with at this time.
I would say out of
all of them,
the 237 countries in the world, probably 236.
I mean, truly, yeah. That's the wild part. So,
I mean, dude, you wanna spend some time going down a rabbit hole? Look up United Fruit Company in South America, and look at what the CIA did to them.
Well, that will be something that we look up. Closing thoughts?
Oh, we don't have time for that.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and close this up. So good episode. Good talks about everything that we've had tonight. Thank you for all the interaction. Seriously,
absolutely.
Through Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it. And again, just want to re-emphasize, please make sure that you all do everything you can to spread our socials. So, gonna go ahead and
comment,
just
share, follow, subscribe.
Basically, gonna go ahead and just start closing us out. Gentlemen, if you have any other closing thoughts, go ahead and say it here now.
Go on my spiel here.
I love your spiel.
Build bridges. Don't burn them down. Make a friend. Don't focus on what you guys don't have in common. Focus on what you do have in common. Hold your government accountable. And yeah. I'll keep it short.
I'm gonna just echo everything that Stu just said, because he says it so well. So I'm just gonna go with what he said.
So ditto. Love it. For me, I'm just gonna take this off with love each other. I believe in the power of peace. I believe in the power of coming together and using our minds as a weapon. Truthfully, the human mind can be a beautiful thing, and I think people need to work together more and stop pushing each other away, no matter our differences. We all want to get to that same goal. So
I do have one more thing I need to say.
I love to hear it.
Screw censorship.
Absolutely.
We in this country have a right to have open, honest discourse. So when I see all this, no matter what it is, the issue is, and if somebody's calling for bans on speech and censored speech, screw you.
In the course of history, those people have never been the good guys.
Ain't that the truth?
Ever.
Yeah, so don't ever be afraid to speak your mind and talk about things with somebody. Not everybody's going to agree with you, and that's fine. But let's all come together and squash this censorship regime. Because who are you to tell somebody what they can and can't say or what they believe? So I'll end it on that.
Ooh. I literally watched your face get redder, so that is definitely something you feel very
Red's
strongly
my
about.
favorite color.
I was gonna say I felt the passion come out of that one, but open honesty is just straight to the point, and that's what we need to do in these discussions of how we need to come together as individuals. So no, I love that, Stu. And forget about censorship. We do not need censorship. That is the worst thing that can happen to this country. So let's go ahead and end it. Please make sure you all like, share, comment, subscribe, and follow on all the following social medias: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok,
The Royal Rumble,
and Twitch. Please make sure you all follow us. Like I said, I'll do all that on all those socials. Please remember, make sure you all share this with the people you love, but also share it with those that you disagree with, because ultimately us here at The Fact Is believe that we have more in common than what we don't. Also, I want to just give a quick shout out to all of those that are, doing good for us here in the U.S. Thank you to all military personnel, active duty and retired, law enforcement, fire and rescue, doctors, nurses, paramedics, hospital staff, farmers, those making the food for us here in the U.S. Thank you. Those in American manufacturing, bringing back the strength of what America can do. Those in social work who are helping take care of U.S. citizens, especially those with mental health issues. Thank you so much. Can't imagine the kind of jobs you all have and how difficult they are. And then finally, last but not least, ethical congressional representatives.
They don't exist.
If they exist.
Maybe Mike Johnson.
Maybe. We
is an
shall see.
ethical congressional.
We shall see.
I'm going to have so much fun with this guy.
So, just thank you to all of those individuals that serve our country and continue to do good for us here in the U.S. We can't thank you all enough, and we're very glad to have you. So, with all of that being said, also, make sure you check out all of our links that we just put in the comments. If you all want to check out everywhere we get our resources from, we get a little bit from the left, a little bit from the right, a little bit from the center. We try to keep it as best mix as we can, because it's hard to get a full picture if you don't see it from all sides. So with all that being said, thank you all so much for coming to the Fact Is Podcast, episode 142. We'll see you all next week for episode 143 at 8 p.m. on Wednesday on all the socials that are posting it live, or that we do our live stream on. So with that being said, we were your hosts, Nath Moses.
And I'm Ryan Mays.
I'm Stu Mowbray.
And with that, thank you all.